Okay, 6 through 11, I'm going to guess, is going to be one of the longest videos that you have. First thing I want you to write over here to study, and I'll slide it over so you can see it. I'm going to roll a PEMDAS as soon as I get my test. It is totally fine to write notes on your test. Arrow, arrow. Now, even if you don't know what PEMDAS means, it'll jog your memory. Parentheses, exponents. Multiply and divide in order from left to right, add and subtract in order from left to right. Number 6 is an exercise of order of operations. 3, B is 2, plus A is 5. Now, if you got that question wrong, that's simply a copying exercise on the directions. 3 and B are next to each other, it means multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 5, okay. I don't think there's anybody in here that's going to get 6 plus 5 wrong. 6 plus 5 should be 11. That's an easy one. It's kind of a gimme. That's going to your directions, taking a look, writing your numbers in. B plus C plus D. B, 2, plus C, negative 4. Notice I'm putting a nice little mathematical hug around negative 4 so I don't mix up a plus and negative sign, all that good stuff. And D. D is plus a negative 2. Now, what's the coolest way to do this question? I'm going to do it 2 ways. Who in here can raise their hand and tell me what's the coolest way to do this question? You don't have to do this question if you see the cool way. Yeah, Amber. Cancel those. 2 and negative 2 should be gone. Your answer is negative 4. Now, you're allowed to do that because you can group things in the order you want by putting parentheses, or technically commutative lets me flip the order. 2 and negative 2 cancel out to give me negative 4. Now, if you did left to right like the order of operations tells me, 2 plus negative 4, negative 2. Negative 2 and negative 2, negative 4. Awesome. Next one, number 8, D minus C. Be careful. D, negative 2 minus a negative 4. I think these actually make you practice writing down the equation correctly. Yes, I would love to see a little mathematical, I don't call those parentheses. Parentheses mean I have a problem in there. Now, can I subtract negatives? No, I can't subtract negatives. If I was allowed to subtract negatives, I'd never, ever pay a bill. So I'm going to change this to adding the opposite. I add the second number's opposite. Add opposite. Opposite signs. What do I hear in my head as soon as I see opposite signs? What am I supposed to hear? I'm supposed to subtract those. 4 minus 2 is 2. Keep the sign of the larger absolute value, positive 2. Next one, AB. A is 5, B is 2. Minus C, which is negative 4 times negative 2. Now, that looks a little more complicated. You are supposed to PEMDAS, meaning I need to do multiplication before subtraction. So when I want you to do this question, there's multiplication. This isn't 52. I've seen people make this mistake. It's 5 times 2 is 10. Negative 4, negative 2. That's that cool little rule that says 2 negatives give me a positive when I multiply. Negative 4, negative 2, positive 8. You get to this part, oh, is that like first grade? It's really easy. 10 minus 8, 2. Done. Oh, you guys are making me work hard. 100 over A5 times C negative 4. Now, I had a couple people yesterday I was working on with this question. You have to do everything above a division bar and everything below a division bar and then simplify. So I have to get this to be negative 20 on the bottom here. So technically I have 100 over negative 20. Okay, there's way too many cool things I can talk about here. Now, some of you just put 100 in a box, divide it by 20 on the outside, negative 20, you're going to get a 5. Anybody remember the cool rule that you're allowed to do here? Anybody remember this from last year? What do I divide by when I cross off a 0 on the end? Does anybody know? If you want to get rid of a 0 on the end, you're dividing by 10. Now, I'm not a big fan of showing shortcuts right before a test. So you know what? Roll with this. 100 divided by negative 20. 20 goes in here 5 times. My sign's negative though. A positive divided by a negative is negative. We'll talk more about canceling and dividing rules as we get going. And last but not least, B, C, D. Oh boy. B, 2. C, -4. D, -2. Now, this isn't a little canceling problem here. I got to go straight across. Now, what I like to do though, kind of a math geek. 2 negatives make a what? 2 negatives make a positive. I get rid of these things. 2 negatives make a positive. Then I don't screw up the sign at the very end. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. I see that in my head better. You can do 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 2, 16. This is PEMDAS. Working on your problems slowly. The key, copying them down correctly. They're going to ask you to add the opposite sometimes. They're going to have you add a positive and a negative as a subtract absolute values.